Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Right, hello, my name's Mike and welcome to the NERevs UK show, all things Revolution from a UK perspective, and the 2021 season is upon us and this is when things get serious. So the pre-season is done and we will touch on that very shortly in today's episode. We're also going to be delving into my predictions for what I think Bruce will be picking for the first game of this season. We'll be looking into what I feel Bruce should be playing as well. So they're going to be slightly different, but obviously he's got quite a lot more knowledge. But I'm going to delve into the reasons why as well and show you kind of my thoughts and process of why I believe the Revolution should be playing the way I think. We also got a new segment as well, guys, a little game for you guys as well. It's Guess That Revolution Player. Now, that might not be what it's going to be called. There'll probably be a little jingle as well, maybe, if I've decided to come up with one. There is work in progress, and this whole series is basically built around kind of what you guys want to see and hear as well. So guys, you need to be as active as you can be in that comment section down below and let me know kind of what features and kind of stuff you'd like to see in this show. You can be as big and outrageous as you wish to, and I'll try to deliver as much content as I can for you guys this year. So the pre-season is done. And I think it's been a pretty good one, if I'm going to be honest. I think, there's a lot of positives to take away of it. Obviously, there's going to be some negatives as well. But this is literally what pre-season is for, to see kind of the level of fitness that the guys are at and just kind of to see, what formation's best for the team and basically just work out, obviously, kind of things that come day one should be cemented into that team so we can kind of start off as we mean to go on. Now, obviously, some of the Revolution 2 players obviously flew out with the Revolution camp as well, which was really pleasing to see the fact that the Revolution 2 players are getting that opportunity to join the Revolution 2 Revolution players as well, which, it must be really pleasing for them players to just know that that's the next step up and it is available there. And obviously, if you do play well, like we have seen from one certain player, that you will be obviously given that opportunity to stake your name for that first team spot. Talking of Revolution 2, just before we delve into the pre-season, obviously, all I really want to say, guys, on that one is a massive round of applause for them guys, because they started off the season with a 1-0 victory over Fort Lauderdale as well. So, I've watched the highlights as well, guys. I'm going to say that, probably looking back over it, it didn't look like we probably deserved to get the win, but the fact that we were able to grind out that result and pick up the 1-0 victory just obviously shows testament to what the guys are doing over there at the Revolution 2 camps as well. Obviously, I'm going to be keeping my eyes closely attached to that one as well, guys, bringing you all the news and everything that we can do that one. Obviously, new signing Ryan, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce that surname just at the moment because we know that my pronunciation of surnames isn't the best. I'm pretty much saying Diego's name incorrectly the whole of his career with the Revolution, and now he's no longer with us. Who knows? Maybe I'll get it right, but hopefully I won't have the opportunity to do too much talking about Diego because obviously Austin isn't the team we're talking about here. We're not playing them in the season, so the only time I will be mentioning probably if he does score against us potentially in the cup. But yeah, Ryan, congratulations on the goal, mate. I will at some point, if you score again, I'll give it a go. That's the deal. If you score another goal for the Revolution 2, I'll attempt to pronounce your surname. Obviously, the Revolution 2, obviously, we've got an upcoming game as well on the 18th, same day as the Revolution kick-off, obviously, against Chicago on the 17th. This time, obviously, the Revolution 2 are facing the Richmond Kickers. But back onto pre-season, guys. Obviously, Bruce kind of mixing it up. A lot of players got minutes as well to kind of see who could play where and kind of what formation we're looking to play. Obviously, we did start off with a few of the lads away on international duty as well. Obviously, Tyjoun Buchanan, the pronunciation is always on point in this podcast show, whatever we want to call it. Tyjoun Buchanan, obviously, with the Canadian national under-23 Olympic team, and obviously the big long-legged Mac Daddy himself, Henry Kessler, representing the United States of America's under-23 US men's Olympic national team. Obviously, we're not going to be delving into too much of kind of what they've been doing with them because this is all things Revolution. So, they've obviously, when they started off, with two fairly fundamental players from especially the back end of last season. Tyshawn not really showcasing much on the first half of the season, but obviously definitely as we got into them playoffs, really cemented in place. His options there, playing at right back and just tormenting defenders throughout the games as well. So. And obviously Henry Kessler just being solid throughout the whole season. It was kind of starting off the pre-season with two, instrumental players not on the pitch. But again, pre-season is all about obviously seeing that level of fitness, seeing kind of who can play where, how the new players are kind of integrating into that team system as well. And I think Bruce has done a really, really good job. We had a good mixture of teams to face off against as well. Some obviously MLS teams, some of the second team. So just really kind of mixing up the first lineups and everything. Everyone got kind of good amount of minutes, I'd say, as well. And I do think that our last game, though, we've probably seen the Revolution, what lineup I think Bruce will go into in week one. But I do have to kind of mention one player in particular that really stood out for me, obviously, in pre-season. I think it's probably a player that kind of stuck in to most people's minds. And it's not kind of one of the big name signings because, unfortunately, we didn't really get to see Mafla play a lot of minutes. We didn't seem to get captain play at all. Icelandic hero, obviously, has only just touched down this morning in Boston as well. So we're not really kind of getting seen any of them big name signings produce anything on the pitch. But for me, I mean, I could be wrong here, but it was a player which, I mean, he had a decent season last season for the Revolution 2 team, but I wouldn't say it was stand out at all. But, he's kind of come into the first team and really cemented it. I've heard, a lot of people talk about him and even like Matt Polster, really bigging up his performances in that central midfield. And that is Martial. I'm not too sure if that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not too sure if it's Maciel or any other version of the name. Obviously, whatever I say is going to be 100% incorrect. But yeah, he had a really, really good season. I'll probably say a solid season with the Revolution 2 team, but I wouldn't say he could probably ever stood out, if I'm going to be brutally honest there. But he's slotted into the Revolution first team, and I think that realistically we've got to start talking about his name in that first game, because for me, I mean, I wouldn't say he's the first name on the team sheet, but he's got to be considered as one of them players who we can't really just bypass now. And I think he's, if I was Matt Polster, I would be worried because, we're probably going to be using that pivot with the two players. And I got a feeling he's going to be one of them. So now he's going to be vying for that second spot. And it will be interesting to see how this pans out. But if anything, this is a massive positive for the Revolution because it gives us another opportunity of trying a different player in there. And obviously with the addition of Luis Casado coming back to full fitness as well, it gives a lot of competition now in that central midfield slot as well. So, we've got the likes of Polster as well can play there. Let's say Luis Casado. We've got Tommy McNamara who can play there as well. Scotty Caldwell. We've got an abundance of players who can play there now. So it does give us good versatility and also gives us the option to kind of obviously switch up formations during the game as well. But overall, I think pre-season did go pretty well. We scored a lot of goals. The only thing I would say is that we also conceded a lot of goals. So even when we kind of probably played our starting back line, I would say, we still managed to kind of concede some goals. So which, that's never pleasing to see. That's the kind of things that you would hope to iron out and cement in pre-season. But saying that, at the end of the day, sometimes pre-season counts for nothing as well. It is predominantly just trying to, you're working on training and kind of the formation and obviously how the games plan out. You're working on obviously, transitions between attacking and defensive play and then vice versa. You're also working on little passages of play along with set pieces. I suppose the pre-season games as such, they're mostly about just making sure you're match fit so that you can obviously run that full 90 minutes and give, and kind of carry out the game plan is such that the coaches obviously relayed to you. But overall, I would say, I suppose you can't really look too much onto pre-season, but I would say it was a pretty positive one from my point of view. I don't know, obviously, what other people think. You can obviously comment down below, obviously, if you agree or disagree, but make sure you give reasons, not just Mike, you suck. Why the hell is a Brit talking about an MLS US football team? Who knows? But then we're going to kind of delve, obviously, now away from the pre-season and look, obviously, about the formation of what I believe Bruce Arena is going to play. So I believe obviously Bruce is going to, I mean, it's tried and tested with him now for kind of the last season and a half he's been in charge of the Revolution. I do think he will line up with a 4-2-3-1 formation. I mean, it's kind of what we've been playing for the whole of pretty much last season. The biggest disappointment for me is that when that formation isn't working, we kind of just change personnel, and sometimes the personnel we bring on don't really add anything different or new to the situation, and doesn't really change anything. If I'm being brutally honest here, like for like substitutions, they're not going to do anything other than bringing on a fresh pair of legs, which sometimes isn't enough. Well, very rarely is that enough. I don't think we've ever really had options to kind of change games at pivotal points, and I'm kind of hoping that with the additions of the players we've brought in this season. I mean, I've just remembered that I forgot to mention Captain, obviously in that discussion about central midfielders. I mean, purely because he hasn't played this pre-season at all, but obviously he's got to be starting at some point. We've brought him in. He's previously played for Real Betis. A decent standard. He's got to be in the conversation at some point, but we've not seen him obviously to bring him into that conversation. But for me, I think that this is the biggest tell, obviously, of how good Bruce Arena will be this season. We did well last season, really, really well. Hit, far above what I thought we would achieve. And during the playoffs, we hit such a good run of form and right at the right time. And it was really, really pleasing to see. But now I feel this is going to be the test for Bruce Arena. We've brought in some players now. This is pretty much his squad. Now what can he do, and during key moments in key games, this is going to be interesting to see if 1-2-0 down, how does Bruce go about changing that game? How can we turn that back round into a positive, not just bringing on the likes, and this is no disrespect to any of these players' names, but swapping out Teal Bunbury for Boateng. That's not going to change the game, really. It's just going to inject a little bit more pace on the wing, which, I guess possibly could cause a breakthrough. And we've got some defenders with weary legs out there, and it could look to be the changing moment. But when sometimes we're getting overrun in certain positions, I don't really feel Bruce kind of reacts to it, or I've not seen Bruce react to it just yet. It's not like he'll change the formation to kind of counteract what they're trying to do. We kind of just stick to, plan A and hope that Colosseum comes up with a magic moment. But being honest, I think he will just stick with it. I think he'll go 4-2-3-1 formation as we played last season. If I'm going to just hazard a guess here at what I believe Bruce Arena's starting 11 will be for game week 1, I believe he'll obviously start with Matt Turner in goal. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's undisputed, right? At left back, I do think he will actually start with DeJuan Jones. Now, this is probably because Mafla hasn't had a lot of minutes, so I don't know how long he could last in a 90-minute game. So I do think DeJuan Jones will probably start at left back for us in that first game against Chicago Fire. I think the defensive partnership will be Henry Kester and Andrew Farrell. And then at right back, I think we will start with Brandon Bye as well. Bruce has said on multiple occasions now, when questioned about Tyrone Buchanan, that he will be starting in a more advanced position. I then think the two holding midfielders who sit just in front of that back line will be Matt Polster, and I actually do think that Martial, again, apologies because I've not heard their name pronounced yet, and I probably should have done. I do think he'll be in that second pivot role there as well. I think Polster will probably be the player who probably sits slightly deeper and is the more defensive-minded of the two, and I think that Martial will be the player who kind of just gets out and about, the kind of box-to-box midfielder who kind of just is a little bit more free to kind of do what he wants. In front of that, I do think we'll have Carlos Hill sitting on the right-hand side. I do think he'll start with Tyrone Buchanan on the left-hand side, and I think he'll have Gustavo Bo sitting in behind Adam Butska. So I think it's pretty standard. I don't think, there's going to be too many variations on what people are going to be expecting. The only one position I think that people might argue about is potentially, obviously, who starts at left back and then who starts on the left hand side of the three behind Adam. So the left hand side for me is the one where we still haven't nailed down. Obviously, we've got our Icelandic Viking, who's currently obviously probably just in Boston's training ground, right now as we're talking. But for me, obviously, he's not integrated into the team at all. He hasn't been training, he's got obviously all the COVID regulations and everything to abide by as well. So we're not going to see him for a few weeks. Boateng is one, could chat there. or we could obviously start with Till Bunbury as well. But for me, I think Tyjon might start game day one. Don't know what it is because he hasn't played that much in pre-season, but that's my prediction, guys. That's all it is, a prediction. Now let's talk about the formation that I believe the Revolution should play. Now I know you're all seeing on your screen right now, and you're obviously probably thinking, Mike, what have you been smoking? This will never work. Now, kind of let me run you through my thoughts and processes behind why I believe this formation would work for the Revolution before you kind of all lynch me in the comment section. Now, obviously, you can see it is a 3-4-2-1 formation. We've got Matt Turner in goal, a back three of John Bell, Kessler and Andrew Farrell. We've then got Matt Polster and Martial sitting in front of them with Tyjon Buchanan on the right-hand side. We've got the Icelandic winger, I'm going to give this a go, Tristanson. On the left-hand side, we've got Gustavo Bo, Carlos Hill, and then Adam up top. So why I think this would work is, while that I know probably a lot of you now are thinking, yes, look, that leaves a lot of space in behind Buchanan and the Icelandic player. Such a massive Revolution fan I am. And yeah, I get that. It does seem that, quite apparent that the opposition team will probably take advantage of that and knock balls down the wing. However, I think as we're kind of moving into kind of some transition into an attacking formation, if we just look that, we can always have a flat back four. It's just a matter of obviously drilling this into the players, which would have been what pre-season was all about, as well as obviously training. But I believe it's all doable with the options we've got, and I think it's probably our strongest option with the roster that we've got as well. So as you can see, as we're kind of attacking, we've got John Bell kind of splits out to left back, which he's capable of playing. We've got Andrew Farrell who goes out to right back, Polster drops back into centre back, and then we've got Henry Kessler as well. Obviously, we can swap Polster and Farrell around. It doesn't really, I suppose, matter as such which way they go around. I suppose it might be more beneficial for Polster to go out right back and Farrell to sit back as centre back. So at least we've got the partnership of Kessler and Andrew in front of Matty. But then obviously, Martial goes forward a little bit more, and it also gives then the option that Carlos Hill and Bo are very naturally centrally drawn players, I suppose you could say. Even when Hill's out on that right hand side, he naturally kind of drifts inside anyway, which gives Tyjon a massive advantage on that right hand side. I think more than Tristanson on the left hand side. I think he'll be the one who kind of mostly utilises this more. But then them two have got an option then to drive forward and kind of utilise that space. And you will kind of have options for either of them to kind of drive forward. And I suppose the one kind of, would cut inside as the other one's gone wide to almost create a four-person attacking presence in the box. As we're kind of, if Tyjon's cutting down to the byline on that right-hand side, you've got, Adam in there, you've got Gustavo, you've got Carlos, and then you've obviously got Tristanton as well. You've got Martial potentially arriving late into the box as well, while predominantly still leaving him with a back four. So you don't really want Martial going forward too much, but we've got Matty Polster who can then sit in there as well. So you've still got a defensive through with somebody kind of mopping up in the midfield. But I think that leaves us a little bit too vulnerable, if I'm being honest. In the defensive transition, though, even with kind of what we're playing there, we've got options to realistically still play with a flat back four. Again, obviously Polster and Farrell can be whichever way around they are. Obviously, we have Martial just dropping in just as almost like a fifth defender, but just kind of mopping up in front of those ones. Carlos drops back, obviously Tyjon and Tristanton. I don't know, drop back as well. Gustavo has got an option to drop back if need be, so we can almost play like a 4-1-4-1 formation. And I just think that gives us like some real solidity, and just I think the transitions between the plays just gives us options as well. And we're almost changing formations during the game plan, which I don't really see I've done. Not since I've been following the Revolution anyway. It might have been. I'm not sure, but I can't really remember a time when during a game that we've had this much fluidity in the fact of what we can name as a starting 11 to give us the options to change the game as well. Because even if you think about, if this is our starting 11, I mean, from this, what we've pretty much named now, we could still actually name a starting 11 in Bruce's formation, because you just go Matt Turner, you go, what would you go? So you go Matt Turner at the back, you'd go John Bell at left back, Henry Kessler and Andrew Farrell in the middle, Matt Polster at right back. You'd then stick Martial, I suppose, as a lone defensive midfielder, and then in front of him you'd have Buchanan, Tristanthan on the wings, with Gill and Bro supporting Adam. So I suppose not naturally. I mean, obviously you're only at the one pivot point there, which isn't ideal. But it still gives us a little bit of fluidity in kind of what we can do. Obviously, I believe the wingers could change positions there. I mean, you've got just Carlos could go out to the right and Tajon could come in. It just gives us kind of a lot of fluidity, I feel, and a lot of options without kind of using substitutions to kind of affect the game and obviously change it into becoming something that's not working out for us into a massive positive. But again, these are just my thoughts, guys. It would be really, really interesting to kind of get your take on kind of what you feel the Revolution should be playing or could be playing. So in the comment section down below, I'd like you to give me your predictions, or you can just submit them over to me on Twitter as well, and just let me know kind of what you think the Revolution should be playing and your predictions on what Bruce Arena will be naming as his first 11 as well. Right, we're going to be delving over now to questions. Obviously, I haven't got a lot, unfortunately, but there has been a few questions over on the social medias. So we're going to delve into them now and just see kind of what the Revolution want to know. So, guys, just for future reference as well, this doesn't have to be football based. So this doesn't even have to be about the Revolution. If you just want to kind of find out a little bit more about me, then fire your questions along, and I'll be sure to kind of answer them as best as I can. So, first of all, the first question comes from Christoph Valkis. I probably should know how to say your name, as I've been talking to you for such a long time now, but is it Valukis? I know it's kind of some Swedish ancestry in there, but so I apologise, Chris. I don't actually know how to pronounce your surname, but he did kind of comment saying, I had a tough time thinking of this the other day. So what do you see as the biggest weakness for this Revolution team? And he also asks a secondary question about, do Brits eat tuna melts? That question comes from his wife. And I also had a comment on that one as well. Jason, we do not call them fish and cheese. It's and it definitely doesn't come with stewed eels. So first we'll tackle the Revolution question, then we'll get on to the food conundrum. So what do I believe is the Revolution's biggest weakness? And I think it's kind of been our biggest weakness for some time now, really. I don't think it's anything that no one doesn't know about. I think it's plain for all to see, and it's something that I've seen a lot of statistics and analytics about as well. So I don't think it comes as any surprise as defending set pieces, particular corners. We seem to just not be able to kind of deal with it. I'm not too sure why that is. So I think I'd probably say that's our biggest weakness in terms of the actual roster, I suppose, is which I'm probably predicting what your question might be about. And I still think it's the left back situation, if I'm being perfectly honest. I mean, Chris Tierney's been gone for some time now, and a lot of us wish he hadn't left. But he knew when his body was done, and hats off to him. He called it at probably the right time in his career. We've seen some players, maybe have played on 1 or 2 seasons a bit too long. The first and main person that springs to mind is Gary Neville. He, could have ended his career on a massive high, and then he was literally getting ripped to shreds week in, week out for Man United in his last season, and it was just a little bit. I mean, I'm a Leeds United fan, so I really should take a lot of pleasure from that. And there was a little part of me that did, but at the same time, he's a very decorated player with an illustrious career, and he's represented his country and all this kind of stuff. And it was a little bit horrible to watch a player get turned inside out week in, week out for Manchester United. So Chris has obviously called it time, and we've never really fulfilled it. We've brought in multiple players: Gabriel Somi, Agustia. We've tried obviously Dewan Jones there. We've now got Mathler out there as well. And then obviously just more recently we had obviously Alexander Butner, and Alexander Butner came with a lot of experience, played for some big clubs, didn't work out. Castillo came with a lot of MLS experience, didn't work out. Gabriel Somik, European pedigree player, didn't work out. I'm not too sure what it is with that left back position. I know they're big shoes to fill, but it's now looking like, again, Juwan Jones is going to be starting there. And this is no disrespect to Juwan Jones. I think he's a very, very, very useful and great player to have around in the roster because of his versatility and his athleticism. He will literally give 110% no matter what you ask him to do. And I think I've said this multiple times before, but I think if you honestly asked Juwan Jones to play in goal for you, he would, and he would, put as best a performance as he can do. But for me, with left back not being his natural position, while I do think he gives us something slightly different out there, I still would feel a lot more comfortable if we did have a player who did play left back, as his main option. So I'd probably say that was my biggest concern and biggest weakness we've got at the moment in terms of that. Roster-wise, I think we're pretty solid all over the park, apart from that left-back position. I think other than that, we've got pretty much depth in every single position, and if we haven't, we've got an option to obviously upgrade, or bring in a player from the Revolution 2 team. But in terms of obviously overall the weaknesses, I think it's still our inability to defend corners, or kind of any set pieces of any note. And about the tuna melts, I suppose we obviously they are over here. I wouldn't probably say, as again, I don't know this, but I feel they're not probably as popular over here as they are over in the States. But yeah, they are available. This is something we can make and have made. I know it's weird sometimes when you think about the way that food's eaten in different continents, because all the food is available to everyone. Well, most food is available to everyone, I'd say. I wouldn't say all food is available to everyone. But, most ingredients are available to most people. But it's just obviously coming across a certain way of preparing or putting together those ingredients that some places just never would have thought of or heard of. But no, the tuna melt is available over here. I'm pretty certain you can order it from a lot of kind of eat out restaurants and all that kind of stuff as well. So, it's available over here, and but I would probably say it's not as popular. I then had another few questions. So the next question was from Soccer Bandits. I think that's how your username is pronounced. He says, "How do you think you, which meaning me, can help the Revolution fan base grow in the UK?" And I honestly, this one, I did think about it, and I honestly don't know how I can help it grow. If I'm being perfectly honest, obviously I try and put out as much content out there as I possibly can. There is a kind of a small community of MLS UK fans. Obviously we've got the MLS UK show, and there's a lot of each kind of club now has almost got a representative in that as well. So. But in terms of obviously growing the Revolution fan base in the UK, it would be quite a hard one because obviously there's a massive stigma against the MLS, obviously being the retirement league still. And that obviously comes from people who literally have never watched a game in their life. It's just them jumping on a bandwagon and seeing older players a few years back joining the league. And to a certain extent that still kind of does happen, but obviously the average age of each squad goes to show that is no further from the truth than anything's been said before. But it is a tough ask to do, and I think, and again, obviously this isn't what I think. I mean, I've followed the Revolution for God knows how many seasons now, and this is my 4th year of producing some kind of content for the Revolution. But New England, I suppose, in a way, isn't as big a draw as maybe LA or Miami and all that kind of stuff. So we don't have the draw of being as known, although Boston is a massive sports, sport is huge in Boston, so it's weird that people aren't drawn to it more. But yeah, and the fact that we've never really had any massive, huge player. I mean, a lot of people that I speak to have obviously heard of Carlos because of his time with obviously Aston Villa, and obviously they'd heard of Michael Mancian and Alexander Butner. But obviously both of them the latter two players didn't really have the best careers with the Revolution at all. Obviously Carlos is having an absolutely stunning contribution to his time over here with us, and even mentioning the likes of Bruce Arena didn't hold as much weight as when I was saying that Brad Friedel is our manager, because obviously Brad Friedel is a known Premiership player, played for Tottenham for many seasons, and obviously Blackburn as well. So yeah, it's quite a tough one to kind of obviously grow it over here. There's lots of different avenues I've thought about kind of trying to, ramp up the kind of momentum of it, like, by introducing little membership packs kind of thing, so you sign up and then you get like a little membership pack, a sticker, a t-shirt, all that kind of stuff as well. Merch is something I've been thinking about for a while now, but again, it's just there's a lot of cost behind it, and do I think I'd ever sell one? Maybe one or two, but it doesn't kind of outweigh the kind of initial first cost there is there. And it's quite a tough one, if I'm being honest, and it's going to be something that I would really appreciate anyone who does listen to this that have got any thoughts and on how I could help grow the Revolution fan base here in the UK. Because I believe there's probably like 3 of us that are known to me at the moment that do follow Revolution on a regular basis. But other than that, I mean, obviously, with kind of restrictions easing on COVID and stuff, we might be looking to do just a general MLS UK kind of meetup, but it wouldn't be kind of Revolution just based, because I do think that if that happened, it would probably just be me sitting in the pub by myself watching a game, which, isn't the end of the world, but it's not really a meetup, is it? So yeah, any thoughts and suggestions of that one, then any help would be greatly appreciated. The second 2 comments, because I put a little post out on Instagram, actually come from my wife. So the first question she asked is, where should we go on holiday? Now for me, I mean, I'd love to go to Greece, but I think we'll probably leave Greece for the moment, because obviously due to COVID restrictions this year, I don't think it's going to be safe to travel or leave the UK at all, or even if it is, then I don't know if I'd feel comfortable with obviously taking the family abroad. But even if it is to do so, I think Greece will be one for us next year, because that is our 10-year anniversary, and Greece is the place we went to for our honeymoon as well. So it'd lovely to go back to the island of Kos to obviously, for our 10-year anniversary. In terms of this year, obviously I'm just somewhere in the UK, to be fair, somewhere coastal, maybe Norfolk, possibly Cornwall, Devon area, so somewhere like that, just somewhere nice coastal kind of venue. If we are able to go this year abroad, and again, it is safe to do so, and their country's been COVID free for a while and everything's dandy, then maybe Norway, because obviously I know we've mentioned that before. So Norway is definitely somewhere I'd love to go and visit. And the second question she asked me is, what do I want for dinner on Friday? Now she's asking me this question, but we have already decided what we're having for dinner on Friday, and I've actually already forgotten what we're having for dinner on Friday, which is really good. I've got a feeling it's not shepherd's pie. Is shepherd's pie something you guys have in America? I'm presuming it is. I don't know, shepherd's pie or cottage pie maybe. No, see, I don't think, it doesn't sound like something you guys would have over there. But I'm not too sure. Let me know in the comment section down below. Yeah, see, this is really bad. I don't even know what happened for dinner on Friday. But whatever we've decided on, that's what I want to eat. That is always the correct answer, surely, right? That saves me getting in trouble. Right, guys. Yeah, so now we're going to just delve into the last kind of few segments here. We're going to have my insane predictions on where I believe the Revolution will finish this season. And I'm not going to predict on top goal scorers or anything just yet. I'm going to leave that till the next episode after the first game of the season, and I kind of just have a little bit more feel for kind of where the players are at least give us 90 minutes to kind of delve into that one, and I'll give you my predictions on assists and all that kind of stuff as well. But in terms of predictions for the league, I'm just going to go massive this year, guys. I'm just going to say the Revolution have finished second in their conference, and we're going to win it. Simple as that. As simple as that. I mean, what else is there to say? Second in the conference, and we'll win the cup. There we go. It's on record now. That is my predictions of what will happen with the New England Revolution this season. Well, guys, I just in post-editing, I realised I didn't actually give my prediction on the Chicago Fire versus Revolution game. So here it is. It's 2-0 to the Revolution. Clean sheet for the defence and Matt Turner. And goals coming from Adam Butska and Teal Bunbury. And now it's time for the brand new segment. And something hopefully you guys will find fun every single week.
Who's that? Ready, Mom.
That's right, it's Guess That Revolution player. Now, obviously, if I haven't named it that and I've come up with a different jingle, then I just sound a little bit stupid now, but what I'm going to do is each week I'm going to pick a Revolution player at random, past or present. I'm going to read you a little snippet of a quote that player has said, and then you're going to comment down below in that comment section and let me know which player said that, and then obviously next week I will let you know the answer of that. So obviously anyone who has commented on the day of the next episode going up, you're all cheaters. You're just cheating. So obviously make sure you get your comments in nice and early. So guess which Revolution player said when asked their question. So obviously I'll give you some kind of context to this. So they were asked the question of who was your favourite player growing up, and the Revolution player in response said, really nobody famous. My brother was probably my favourite player to watch. He's 3 or 4 years older than me, which is a bit, how do you not know how old his brother is? Older than me, and taught me everything I know. But if I had to pick a famous player, I would have to say Alex Song, who plays for Barcelona. This is how long ago that quote was. I like him a lot. So which Revolution player, his favourite player of all time is their brother, who is either 3 or 4 years older than them. If not, if you had to pick a famous player, it would be Alex Song, who at the time would have played for Barcelona. Comment down below, guys, and let me know who you think, which Revolution player you think said that quote. And guys, that pretty much wraps up this episode. So the reason why I kind of wanted to make this a show rather than a podcast was because originally I was possibly going to record myself doing it. But yeah, it's still not something that I feel overly comfortable about doing, is putting myself, so it's always accounted back to me that I'm the one creating the content. I mean, some people know who it is already, but I don't know. I just don't feel overly massively comfortable about people putting a face to the the name, a name to the face, and a name to the voice and all that kind of stuff. And it just so for the time being, it's going to be still kind of a podcast, I suppose, in a way. But I'm going to try and give you as much visual help and stimulation as possibly can. But hopefully, guys, have enjoyed this one. Please obviously comment down below and get involved, because obviously the more comments, likes and all that kind of stuff is the more the algorithm gets up there, and then obviously the more the algorithm is helped, the more people in the UK might see this video and think, you know what, I'm going to start supporting the New England Revolution. Anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed this one, then obviously do all of that good stuff, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of, and I will catch you guys very, very shortly in the next one.